So we're good to go on my end. My name's Craig Schmidt. I'm the host for the meeting.
Good afternoon. I'm Dick Brusher, the chairman of the Norwalk Parking Authority, and welcome to this special meeting of the Parking Authority on the 10th of June in 2020. I'm going to do a roll call first, and then we'll see if there's any public comment. I'll go according to the screen that I've got here. So Tom Vetter.
Here.
Eric Rains. You can raise your hand, Eric. Okay. Judd Ailey. Okay. Mike Harden, we're waiting for Mike. He'll come in, but we do have 4 people. Public comment. Now, Kathy, what do you have? You can unmute Kathy. There we are.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got an email.
Okay.
Oh,
you can
read
it. Yeah, that's the public comment.
Okay. It's from Katarina Capone. And she said, I was reaching out in response to an email from the parking authority sent a couple of weeks ago stating that parking would return to be metered and paid by June 1st. After receiving that announcement, I was called by Sabrina Church asking what I felt should happen to the parking and stated I believed it should stay free until businesses get back up on their feet, in which she said that would be the current course of action. Since that conversation, I have people ask, what is the deal with parking on Wall Street neighborhood Facebook page, on the Norwalk Community Facebook, and today in person at 20 Main Street lot. No one seemed to know what to do, and 2 complete strangers seemed very frazzled on, is parking free or not? I was hoping to just receive a clear answer on, is parking still free or has it gone back to being metered? And if the answer is free, please consider making some simple signage to be displayed or putting plastic bags over the machines.
That's it?
Yes.
And it's entirely, okay. Thank you. The meeting has come to order. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the May 27th meeting. I have no additions or corrections. Does anybody else? If so, raise your hand and I'll, okay, then someone make a motion that we approve the minutes. Would you, Tom?
I'll make a motion, but I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Thank you very much. Second? Good, okay. All those in favor, raise your hand. That's 3 and 1 abstention.
Yep.
Item number 2 on the agenda, and Judd, I guess you're the one that would speak on this one. We tabled the discussion about the agreement with Desmond, and you had some questions that you wanted to be answered, and they promised that they would get the answers to you. I just want to know how you feel about what you learned, and are you Judge?
You're muted.
Yeah, Judge should be unmuted. There we are. Can't hear Judd. Can we unmute Judd?
Yeah, he's unmuted. I'm not sure if there's a volume control on his end.
Dick, I think it's on his end.
On Judd's end?
Yeah.
Judd, the bottom right of your computer, look for the little speaker symbol.
Judd, on the bottom left, there's a mute button. And if you hit the arrow on the mute button, then there is a select a microphone.
How about now?
There you go.
good.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, Vanessa sent me some information and it answered my question. So I'd like to propose that we approve that item.
Okay. Thank you. Any second? Raise, Eric, second. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have the discussion now on our reopen plan. Eric and Kathy and I had a good meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and a local restaurateur today to go over a bunch of things, and I think that was helpful. But I'm wondering if we can identify right now, and we start with Eric and then Judd, and then the rest of us chime in. What is the biggest problem that we have right now that we can address ourselves to try to solve?
Well,
Eric?
I guess sort of seriously facetious, the biggest problem we have is to figure out if we're charging for parking or not. That email is highly confusing to me.
Okay. Whether we're charging or not and communicating to the public. That's what you mean, I think. Yeah.
As I recall, we made a decision, but according to that email, that's not the case.
Okay. Judd,
Tell me the question again, please.
what do you think the biggest problem right now is facing the parking authority with the rollout plan
Well,
that we can address and try to solve?
Again, as Eric said, I think that email kind of sums it up. You know, we're not charging officially at the moment. We're planning to start using the courtesy cards if we're not already, I believe tomorrow. And we're going to sort of take it on a week-by-week basis after that. But, you know, at some point, sooner than later, we do have to start charging. I mean, the parking authority has to charge for parking. It's part of the whole managed parking, and it's ultimately beneficial to the businesses there. So I guess we just have to be more clear on what our plan is for the next couple of weeks.
Tom?
Well, I agree that that's the problem we have right now. And for the next couple of weeks, can we communicate anything fast enough to people? Say we decide we're going to not do anything for 2 weeks. Can we communicate that? Or we're going to charge half rate. Can we communicate that? There seems to be certainly confusion. I've run into people at the Wall Street lot saying, do we or don't we pay now? Nobody seems to know. So that's it, I believe.
But I think according to the email, there are 2 messages being communicated. One is from us, which we voted
Right.
open for business basically on June 1st. But it sounds like now there's communications that's not the case. So we can't clear up our own house. How can we communicate anything to anybody else?
Yeah.
One of the things that Kathy or Stathis or Rocky, how many courtesy cards have we given out in this month?
None.
We're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Dick, when you're ready, Eric and Judd did prepare a deck to show you the data for the last week.
No, I know that. I'm
Okay.
talking about solving a problem here first. So we didn't give any courtesy cards out. And yet in the minutes, we said we were going to start to give courtesy cards out on the 1st of June to help introduce what we were doing during the first part of the month. I'm trying to figure out how did we drop the ball on not giving the courtesy cards out when we voted that that's what we would do, and that was an important part of introducing what we were doing.
I think what we approved.
Yes. Yeah, Judd, go ahead.
Dick, that I guess that is the case. They haven't given them out, but I'd like to suggest that Laz start giving out the courtesy cards tomorrow. And that'll get us back on track on what we planned, which was, for this month, we're going to do the courtesy cards and only ticket for life safety issues. And I believe it's July 1st, we'll start with regular ticketing.
So I think we could certainly do that, in my opinion. But as I recall, what we approved was to on June 1st approve that we were going to even print the courtesy cards. So I don't recall that we were going to have them ready in their new format on the 1st. And I think it was Mike Harden who said that his preference was not to see anything on any windshield for, I think he said 10 days, which puts us about where we are now.
Well, I understand that, and that's part of the reason for the confusion that we're talking about right now. What we voted on was a proposal that you and Judd put together, and that included incorporating the courtesy cards. We didn't vote on not giving them out for 10 days. There was no discussion and vote on that.
But we did, okay, like that makes sense. But looking back, it would be physically impossible to start handing out courtesy cards on June 1st because they didn't exist. Our vote gave the authority to go get them printed.
What I'm doing is sharing with you what we have said to the public. And to the public, we said the courtesy cards would be an important part of what we were doing. Now, what we need to do is find a solution. Yeah, Judd, go ahead.
Yeah. Staff, are the cards printed out? We had a sample. Are they ready to go?
Census?
So we had generated a draft, like a change that had the, welcome back to Norwalk. And we were going to have those ready until this text to park was in place, and then we would do another version. So I'm not sure if we were going to issue the new ones or if we were going to continue with the same ones. Rocky?
Yes, if we are issuing the new ones, they will be ready tomorrow. Yes.
So
if we were instructed to, we would have used the ones that we had as you guys voted on last meeting, but then obviously things changed.
Yeah, Dick,
Yeah. Yes.
I think you're correct about June 1st, what we voted on. But we've met a couple of times, and I know we did discuss not doing anything for the first 10 days. But again, here we are, it's 10 days. So if we can start with the new courtesy cards tomorrow, I think we should. That's the way to go. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have to take a.
Okay. Tom, do you have anything?
No, I think starting tomorrow, if that can be done, or as soon as they can, is a good idea. That doesn't necessarily solve all the problems, but I think it's a good step.
Yep.
And those courtesy cards are, I forget now what they say. What were we going to change from the? In other words, are those courtesy cards usable now? Are they still usable?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were just, in the deck, you'll see what the latest version is, but at the last meeting, we had kind of an updated one, which looks almost identical, except the heading was, welcome back to Norwalk. But the context was still, the content was still the same virtually.
What about, all right, so you say we can do this as soon as we decide we want to do this, right?
Right.
Okay, and utilize those. I'm thinking out loud here. I'm wondering if we should issue a statement that says we have started to charge for parking, and we have and we're instituting the courtesy card program to ease ourselves into it, and that there will be no ticketing, but we encourage people to utilize the meters, and we will not start enforcement until, and pick a date here. It could be June 17th, which is tied into what the state is doing, or it could be maybe the Monday, June 22nd. But we up to you. We pick a date and say, so try to make this clear. We pick a date and say, we're going to continue to issue the courtesy cards, which are warnings that we're going to be enforcing, but we will not be enforcing until whatever. June 17th, which ties in with the state, or June 22nd, which is a Monday. Does that make any sense, or something like that? Eric?
I think it does make sense, and it's also a full 7 days from now. So, if the statement, if the statement's issued tomorrow, then then there's plenty of days for people to see plenty of courtesy cards around town, so that come the 17th, it should be, we should be back on course.
Judd? Unmute, Judd.
Yeah, I want to hear what Rocky has to say.
Rocky?
Dick, if we're telling, most of the issue that our enforcement guys or our ambassadors were facing was when people pay, meet them at the street or at the pay stations, they ask, are you enforcing? And if we're sending, the message to that we're not enforcing, what people are doing is they're not just paying, then I don't have to pay and they'll go. So what makes people pay for parking is, there's enforcement, and there's, if you don't pay, there's a penalty for not paying. So by us, letting them know that we're not enforcing, people will not pay at the meters or at the pay stations.
And then will they move their car?
And they will not move their vehicle at all either.
Yes.
So, can the guys say we're not enforcing for payment, but we're enforcing for time? And a week from today, we start enforcement. I think that's what I heard you say, Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the next 7 days, we're doing courtesy cards and enforcing time, but not payment. And 7 days from now, we go back to normal.
Okay. Stathis, you had something?
So yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on what Rocky said, I don't think this is an issue of payment or rates, because it was clear after the last meeting that June 1st rates were in effect. So it was this is really more of an enforcement question, not a payment question. But to Rocky's point, and to reemphasize that if you're advertising, publicly making statements that there is no enforcement at all, then you've made the rate structure completely ineffective. So there's already been, the public knows that rates are in effect. Maybe a few people didn't, but so people have been paying right now.
Eric?
I would agree with that point, Stathis, that we've already said we're back that we're back in business, basically, are open. Maybe the reply to a question like that could be that yes, rates apply, but there's an expansion of the courtesy card program that was in existence before Corona. But I think any other way of answering that question than a simple yes is perpetuating confusion and making our roles harder and harder the more time that passes.
Tom, anything else?
Well, Eric's last comment, I think, hits the nail right on the head. And I think tying it to the 17th makes a lot of sense, because that ties in with the state's next phase. And I think that would be the timetable I would go for.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the issue becomes one of what we're going to say to the public, and what the folks working for LAS are going to do, the people on the street, how they're going to handle it. So we'll have to, I think what I'll do is I'll have Kathy draw something up that everybody here can make a comment on and refine, so that we can use that as a marching order, and use the 17th then as a date in which we will start to do the enforcement. But I think if we say that we are we're enforcing for time, that to me that covers what we're trying to do. So we are enforcing for, if you put your money in and you're there for an hour and you overstay the hour, we give you the courtesy card. If you're there 2 hours later, we give you a ticket because you overstayed. You're parking there. You're doing the same thing that we had happen when we removed all of the parking fees in the Sono area. Does that make sense? Or are we?
So I think what you're saying, Dick, is you're saying that yes, we are up and running like we should be up and running, and then what I'm confused, what I'm not sure about is whether we need to go into the courtesy card program or not, because if we're automatic action, should somebody overstay their time, is to get a courtesy card, then I say we just do it. And because it's part of the courtesy card program, that's how we did it before. We didn't announce that we were automatically going to give anybody a courtesy card because it was a random process. So again, I think that the simple, clear answer is yes on the 17th, which is inconsistent with what we've already said. But on the 17th, parking rules are in effect. And then leave the courtesy card program as it could be a separate, and with parking rules being in effect, the parking authority has the courtesy card program, they have the validation program, they have 3 ways to pay, they have, maybe it's all of that message gets communicated along with the very simple answer of yes.
Kathy, I don't know if you had heard what I said before, but I'd like you, working with Judd and Eric, to draft a press release describing what we're doing, using the date of the 17th, and passing a draft around to everybody on the parking authority so that they can chip in and refine it and try to have this ready to go out at the very latest on Friday. Can you do that?
Yes.
Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Yep.
Elizabeth Street, Census, do we have the, that deals with time. Do we have the courtesy cards for Elizabeth Street?
Rocky, we don't have those printed yet, right?
Okay.
No, we don't have those.
Yeah, but what we're trying to do is to deal with what kind of action can we take right now to try to clear up the confusion that's obviously out there. So don't worry about Elizabeth Street right now. We're going to have to deal with that down the road, but and that deals with the time, the 2-hour time period.
Right. I mean, that card would look a little different, just that, you know, you overstayed the time limit, basically, not paying them.
Okay. Our next meeting is on the 24th. I think does anybody have anything else you want to bring up right now?
Dick, Eric and Judd spent a lot of time putting together like a 3-minute deck and they wanted to present.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, please do.
So before we get, I have 30 seconds. Is that okay?
Catherine, just
Yeah.
to do, and maybe this isn't the place to address the mixed messaging that's coming out of the city, but if we issue that statement on the 17th, has that situation been taken care of?
The statement, after you all approve it, will go to Josh Morgan, who's the communications director for the city of Norwalk, on your behalf.
But will there be another phone, the email said somebody got a phone call from somebody in the city who was giving the wrong information. So how do we deal with that?
Well, we have to communicate within the city as well as with the public.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think, so just as some clarification, we wanted to do some due diligence. We called some businesses. We wanted to be able to give them a heads up that the change was going to happen. When we did talk to the businesses and they asked if there was parking fee in place or not, we had said that there will be a parking fee, but that it won't be enforced. That then led to confusion of, well, why should I pay the parking fee if it's not going to be enforced? So we got into a circular conversation about that. So I don't know exactly what the conversation was with yoga, with the yoga studio, but I can follow up with our team. I think that moving forward, if the communication that came out of this meeting is a lot more clear than the communication that came out of the previous meeting, where I think we have specific bullet points that we can point to be able to circulate what that information is. And there were a lot of sort of FAQs that were going around over the last 10 days or so where there was a little unclarity, you know, there wasn't 100% clarity of if the answer should just be yes or no, right? There was a little bit of discretion in there. So with the press release that goes out, it can go to Josh, but it can also go to 600 businesses through Norwalk Now and through business development and tourism. We can also push it through the mayor's messaging as well. But I think it just needs to be crystal clear that yes, the parking is charging. There's an expanded courtesy card program, and you know, along with the dates that you've discussed, I think that's a lot more clear for people to be able to have conversations and be able to distribute the message.
Now you want to do your presentation?
Okay.
Let me just 2 seconds here. So I just want to let everybody know that the recovery team is meeting weekly to discuss changes, all the data collection and other communication. And it's been working out very well. And we appreciate the input and the insights from Eric and Judd, who taking the time to attend yet another meeting. Although the Zoom platform seems to work, Judd sometimes calls from his car and from work site. They both understand the value of managed parking and how it benefits the community and city, but also both bring a combined and varied perspective since they both own their own businesses and also participate and volunteer on other boards, commissions, and community meetings. Eric is a board member with the Chamber of Commerce and Judd is a commissioner on the Bike Walk Commission and also attends the pedestrian committee meetings most often. So with that, Stath, can you bring up the deck?
Yes, I will.
And then Eric, you're gonna.
Everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
So some of what maybe is going to be put together in this press release we just talked about could come from this page, and help frame some of what that press release says. But this is just, you can read through it. I think everybody got this email to you. So if there are any questions about it, we can just go to the next page. Judd, jump in. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Am I muted? No. Okay. Yeah, I think most of us know this, but when you look at this page here, the majority of people parking in Norwalk are non-residents. And if we weren't charging for parking at all, if parking was free, then the residents, my taxes, I own a home here, Eric, we all do, our taxes would have to go up to pay for the parking. So I think this number of 71% daily parkers and 56% of permit parkers are from out of town people using Norwalk facilities and infrastructure. And I think that's just great proof as to why we need to charge for parking.
Go to the next one. So actually, let's go to the next one and come back to the so in this one, if you see the gray line was our pre-COVID budget, right? And then the orange line, and Rocky, tell me if I'm using the right words. The orange line is our modified budget, and then the blue line is where is the actual, as it says, actual revenue. So when we put together the modified budget, we anticipated for June that there would be 25% of the activity from June a year ago. So the modified budget anticipated a 75% reduction in usage from the same month a year ago. So what was interesting about this graph is that using that 25% as an assumption and then measuring it against the actual data of revenue received since opening for business on June 1st, those two numbers, actually revenue is slightly ahead. So it proves so far that that by opening for business on June 1st and doing nothing has generated the revenue we had hoped to get on our way back to some semblance of normal operations. If you go back one, then you can see that you can see that we're still clearly operating at a much lower amount than what our pre-COVID budget was. But and Dick, I'd heard you say earlier on another call that that's money that we're never going to regain. So it's more about how to formulate you know, growing from where we are and trying to get back on a track. And, you know, so that's sort of what this page is saying to me, that, you know, over the, you know, all the red numbers are the numbers that are affected by COVID. And then, you know, as we move forward, if our modified budget holds true, then those red numbers are going to get smaller and smaller. So go 2 pages ahead now, if you would. As a result of COVID, there was substantial changes in our operating, on our expense side, and you can see that that those numbers are aligning as well. So if we can stay on the path we're on, then again, I think that this data now, you know, the data we're able to collect now that we're open for business is going to help us build these models and be able to understand the trend that they're going to take. These are the individual uses from June of 19 to June, and comparing it to June of 2020. And those are just differences in COVID versus non-COVID. The next one.
Yeah, and if I could point out, Eric, this we've hit our projection of 25%, pretty much.
Oh, that's another yeah.
That's what you were referring to before.
Yeah. So on the permit side, keeping in mind that that, you know, the permits, the current rates of permits is part of the planning that's in our modified budget, and you know, this points to the activity of permit from June, from one year to this year. That'll probably change. Maybe it'll change with New York City coming back more online. You know, that could change that. This one represents what we were talking about earlier as it relates to ticketing in particular. Through June 7th, and Rocky, our status, there's 4 tickets were issued for a time violation, but I'm not sure what the detail behind those were.
Right. So the what the policy was is that we were going to be issuing tickets for life safety violations only, but there were 4 time limit violations, and those were issued at the direction of the Norwalk Police Department during the whole clearing of Washington Street when they were doing the.
Okay, and then the other 3 categories, as you can see, there are just, you know, life safety or just people parking on a sidewalk, you know, that warranted it. So a total of 8 tickets in June compared to 411 in June a year ago. And then this is the courtesy card that we're going to start with on the 17th.
The only difference was what we added over here on the text to park.
Yeah. And so this is another page that this information can roll into the press release that we're all going to see later this week.
Yeah, and this was from the last presentation, so I didn't know if you wanted to go through these or not, but we kept it in.
Yeah, the rest of it's the same, right?
Right.
So I would like to make a comment on that. My suggestion is that you leave the press release that we're trying to craft together as uncomplicated as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we need to get into public relations and marketing and all those other things. I think if we deal with the issue of we're trying to be clear, and this is what's going on, And from what I'm seeing here, in fact, we have been already issuing tickets, but they've been for things that are either safety concerns or what have you. But there has been some issuing of tickets already, although not for exceeding time limits.
I agree, Dick. That makes sense.
Okay, that's good stuff, Eric and Judd and Stathis. Thank you. Anything else before I close off here? Okay. Next meeting is the 24th of June. We will be electing a new chairman at that particular time. I will not be running for chairman after the month of June. I will be staying on the Parking Authority, but as you all know, one of the reasons I've been staying on is because I've had the time to invest in the demands of the chairmanship, and I find that right now I don't have that kind of time. I have a lot on my own to-do list, and so I don't think I can give the kind of time and effort that needs to be done as a chairman. And so I'm sure that you'll come up with a good way to go forward, and I will be happy to support whoever you guys come up with. That being the case, Mr. Vedder.
That would be my signal. I move we adjourn.
Second, someone? Thank you. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.